Hello everyone and welcome to Good Marty Training App. I'm happy to see you again. I'm bringing you a Gal Marty. This is going to be an extremely quick trading session since I'm running late, and of course my priority is the people from my school, where I try not to be late at all, so I'm doing this for you. In quick mode, listen, despite the war in Iran, despite the bombings, despite the doubts about whether the Iranians have mined the Strait of Hormuz or not, and I encourage you again to go watch the webinar I did on the Strait of Hormuz 3 years ago. Just do a search, type Strait of Hormuz Benoist Rousseau on YouTube, and you'll find it. You talked about all this years ahead of the potential geopolitical risk. The markets aren't panicking, and that's what's really interesting above all. If you follow the news like I do, which is pretty much 18 hours a day, every time Donald Trump speaks, it's to reassure people. The Americans, the war will be short, will have almost no casualties. The Americans had 7 deaths, including one, I think, who had a heart attack. So unfortunately, he would have died even if there hadn't been a war. So reassuring Americans, reassuring the markets, a short war. Oil prices will go down. We have the G7 meeting, and they've already said, the G7, who are going to meet virtually. Now, everyone meets virtually. Everyone's afraid of getting the missile dropped on their head. It's not great for in-person meetings. So, sorry, that's my dumb sense of humor. I don't think the Iranians are actually capable of launching a missile at the G7. But hey, after all, why not? We're alive. Yeah, we're pretty much living in a science fiction world right now. So, let me get back on track. Yes, this is live, no teleprompter, nothing at all. We're totally natural here, zero AI. So, as I was saying, so the G7 is meeting, and they've already announced in advance that they're going to say they reserve the right to tap into the strategic reserves. What are the strategic reserves? They're the stockpiles. These are what countries have set aside in case of conflict. If they're attacked and there's no more supply, they can hold out for 3 weeks, maybe a month. It depends on the country. So this is meant to bring down the price of a barrel of oil, because obviously oil is still the lifeblood of our economy. There's oil everywhere, even in this iPhone case, absolutely everywhere. Every bit of plastic you have, there's oil in it. There's plastic literally everywhere. Even my jacket, for example, there's plastic on the buttons. It's not like this is a jacket that costs 15,000 euros. Otherwise, the buttons wouldn't be made of cheap plastic. Maybe they're made of acrylic or something? I have no idea, honestly. I can't tell the difference. Well, whatever. Plastic is fantastic and rubber is super soft. Let's not forget the words of those wise folks. Let's take a look at oil prices right now. I can tell I'm starting to go off on a tangent and say silly things. I love it. That's why I do live streams, Tata. Oil prices are low. Look, 119.48 was the high point, and all day yesterday, things stabilized. There was even a little spike to about $76.50, which is almost where it was before the conflict started. So yeah, you can really feel there's no pressure anymore. And I wonder if Donald Trump isn't shorting oil every time he makes a statement. It's honestly such a reassuring message that every time the price of a barrel of oil drops by $3 or $4. As soon as it goes up a bit, he steps in and it drops another $2 or $3. And in the end, we're seeing oil prices stabilize. That's how you know the markets aren't panicking at all anymore. The price of a barrel of oil is steady at $83. It's more in the higher range, but not at all excessive. At $90, it starts to have a bit of an impact on the global economy. The ideal range for producing countries is $75 to $80. And for consuming countries, it's below $70. So generally, there's a gentleman's agreement around $65 to $75 per barrel of oil. Producer, happy. Not unhappy, at least. So right now, oil is just fine. Look, as a company, it's hardly moving at all. We're even seeing a slight drop compared to the closing prices. Bitcoin, which, let me remind you, is not a safe haven currency, and you can really see that. It's definitely not a safe haven currency because for the past 2 months, Bitcoin has been taking a beating. We had a rebound, but it got stuck right at 72,000. Exactly. Now we're still at the algorithmic level and we're back down to around 70,000. So be careful. We've got a pretty interesting chart pattern on Bitcoin right now. We're right in the middle at a decision point, whether it's going to go up or down. You might say it's always like that in the stock market, but here, technically, yes, it's important. If we see a rebound and break through 72,000, we're looking at a pretty strong bullish signal. Why the bounce around 66,000, 66,000, 72,000, 6,000, a little downward wave at 69,000? We pull back and then start up again, and at that point we'd need to break above 72,000 or else we could keep going down. And right now, what's offering a little bit of protection from the drop, and you can see we bounced 3 times last night. On this support level, every time we hit 69,000 or 69,500, it consistently pulls back just a bit above 60,000. And this year, we've had 4 consecutive touches just below 69,000. That pushed prices back up to 70,000, so be careful, and we've got the monthly pivot point in a good spot. We saw here, this was the zone, the range area. So honestly, if you're placing a bet on Bitcoin right now, it's a 50-50 gamble. Welcome, fellow players. Welcome, fellow traders. This has nothing to do with a 55% chance. It doesn't interest us. So we'll have to wait for the situation to clear up. We saw the price of oil. We quickly move on to the managers of 2 minutes to move on to some. On European indices, the CAC 40 above the minis is in a range. Well, not much is happening, except that at 40 as usual, the DAX is more interesting, blocked by the 24 mines. One level, we can see it here. That was the high point on March 6th. A true classic. Careful, it never really gets through, it just bounces off. It's very hard to break through these highs. You saw as well, the 24,000 is very tough, around 24,030 or so. Very hard to break through, especially with the weekly pivot point at Monceau. So again, be careful. For us to start moving up again, we need to stabilize above the weekly pivot point, above 24,000. And then there are some barriers here, 2 major monthly resistance levels. The break drill, and it's only at 24,300. So right here, buyers are facing a really tough zone to get through. They have 3 hesitation zones to get through in order to keep up a bullish momentum. That's why right now we can see we have a range forming between the monthly support and the weekly pivot point. We could end up stagnating in this area for quite a while. As for the Dow Jones, there's a nice little rebound on the Dow Jones, but it's blocked by its monthly support. Very clear, very clear, very clear. It closed and it's just a little above. The candle closed below. That triggered a downward wave. Here too, it feels like they're starting some kind of range. They don't really know what to do. The NASDAQ is ranging too, same thing. Pivot point, monthly support, and weekly resistance are holding things back a bit. We're leaning on the 25,000 zone. They're playing ping pong. So be careful, they're starting to range. We're still pretty much at the 15-day highs, so it's totally normal to see some hesitation. They're starting to range even though we've had good news. The good news we got from Wall Street yesterday was especially Oracle's results. Let me remind you, Oracle is the American database giant. They beat all expectations for their quarterly revenue. They said there's strong demand for fully decentralized cloud computing service solutions. In other words, it's all thanks to the work being done in artificial intelligence. So, Oracle's stock jumped more than 6% after hours, so keep in mind we're hovering around 25,000. We've got good news, but that good news is just helping us hold steady at 25,000 points. That's an interesting nuance, that we're only stabilizing with good news. If we get any bad news, we could drop really fast, and the S&P 500 is in exactly the same situation. It's also in a range, around 6,750? Around 6,800. It's still a bit stuck in that zone. So there you have it. I try to be as quick as possible. I'm a minute late for my students, so... Alright, ciao. See you tomorrow. Take care. And next time we'll go a bit further. Next time. I won't be running late. Not according to my projections. You know how it is. Projections are made to be proven wrong, but you'll get the GMT update tomorrow, for sure. Hugs, take care, ciao.